Intel Bulletin, the coming digital prison. A quick reminder, all of our articles and Intel drops can be found on our website at cbdcintel.org, and you can follow Bill's Twitter at OculumLabs. Contact Bill personally on his Telegram, BillSweet1. Follow our official Twitter, our news Twitter, and our Telegrams for updates, comms, public news, and chat. Please bookmark and check our social media accounts weekly for updates. Note an updated FAQ, our team mission page, and our full Intel drop link list, 167, has been posted on our website. A call to action: we are asking our readers to share this Intel drop on social media, Twitter/X, Telegram, TikTok, and Facebook. We have been censored, shadow banned, and attacked for over 2 years. Without your help, no one would find our Intel drops. Our team and our mission: join our efforts to stop Obsidian and to protect you and your family. The following was collated from Intel sent to our team from Gideon. As always, all Intel sent by Gideon is edited by Michael for clarity and for obfuscation purposes. See adversarial stylometry. And now for the Intel Bulletin, originally posted on August 19, 2025.
1. The cabal aggressively moves toward digital ID requirements in preparation for Obsidian. The cabal is making rapid moves toward digital ID requirements across a broad spectrum of modalities. Click here for list of worldwide ongoing digital ID plans and measures, including requirements for business operation, internet use, use of various social media platforms, car travel, and so on. This push, which violates privacy and personal information, is an initial introduction phase and acclimation phase of Obsidian, the future social credit system. Gideon informs that this introduction phase is beginning by August and will accelerate by winter of 2025. In Gideon's words, we are already seeing people faced with having to make hard choices. In the UK, to use Reddit, you must submit documents and facial scans. In Australia, there are approved plans to require digital ID to use Google. Further plans will include eliminating VPN use and requiring a biometric login to even use the internet. This process, which is expected to last about 6 to 9 months, will psychologically prepare the world for Obsidian, when the full, complete digital profile and ID will be offered as a one-for-all system to streamline and simplify the previous digital ID push. It is likely the current, initial digital ID push may be intended to cause discomfort, so that Obsidian appears to be a simplified, easier version of the same process, a typical problem, reaction, solution psyop. 2. Bitcoin surge prediction fulfilled. Cracks in economy intensify and Trump tax revenue theft continues. In our last Intel Bulletin, dated February 22, 2025, Gideon said Bitcoin would likely surge in the coming months, and this has come to pass. We offered previous financial recommendations then, which we still stand by. The most notable news of today is the ever-shrinking middle class in first-world economies, especially the United States. The economy is beginning to falter, as the effects of Trump's tariffs are finally being seen and realized within the real economy. Countless video compilations of citizens complaining about the high cost of living are being posted online, and the Trump administration appears to be openly rigging and lying about economic data. The tariffs serve as a major, new tax on Americans, with the only positive benefit resulting in higher U.S. government revenues, Gideon says. These revenues are being stolen by the cabal and will simply be moved into Obsidian to buy USDR. Gideon says the Trump administration's interest and support of Bitcoin is directly related to this. As he says, billions in U.S. government funds and tax revenues are being moved into new Bitcoin reserves, which are simply avenues to buy USDR for the cabal. It is a continuation of the plan to siphon trillions in fiat funds into USDR, slowly collapsing the fiat system and draining money from the public. The U.S. stock market is inflated and has no relationship with economic reality. The stock market is largely pushed up by stock buybacks, a method in which corporations buy their own stocks with their own profits, thus inflating the price. Gideon says, the stock market is something Trump will say indicates the strength of the economy while people in the real world are suffering, though a crash is eventually coming. The financial crash of fiat, namely the US dollar and the euro, is a trigger event. Gideon says the collapsing dominoes will be so swift and aggressive there will be no time to act or preserve wealth, and the crash could happen over about a 1-week period. Gideon says the crash of Fiat is inevitable due to the unfunded liabilities and $100+ trillion in debt the U.S. holds, and that a careful examination of the Trump administration's spending habits, ironically reported truthfully by the Washington Post, shows the U.S. is on a direct collision course toward destruction via unsustainable spending. This is by design. The final purpose and outcome of deteriorating economic conditions is so that the public will readily accept Obsidian and its UBI component. Despite losing their wealth in the Fiat collapse, Obsidian will provide a welcome respite, with free, guaranteed income per month, so long as the social credit requirements are fulfilled. We are warning our readers not to accept this system, and to avoid it, it is best to work with our team. 3. U.S. and UK governments reinforce the police state in preparation for Obsidian. Both the U.S. and UK governments, along with countless other governments worldwide, are continuing to increase police activities, restrict freedom, and place military units on the streets to patrol, arrest, and detain innocent citizens. Gideon says the cabal's AI issued advanced orders and methods to cloak Trump's actions behind immigration, something most Americans would initially agree with. Gideon warns the masked ICE Gestapo is growing due to hundreds of thousands of Americans applying for ICE jobs. Gideon says, when there are no jobs left, which is happening now, Americans will turn to the government for jobs, and what will be provided is the means to enforce illegal actions against their fellow citizens. Gideon warns the nanotech activation will cause Americans to act in ways they never would otherwise. Once in the employ of ICE and other enforcement agencies, these new hires will be used by the cabal to follow orders to enter homes without warrants, detain without cause, and enforce illegal measures. Once Obsidian is online, huge internment camps being built will house those who resist Obsidian, and even restricted and quarantined individuals who may not resist will still be taken to them. 4. U.S. planning possible major digital dollar deception. Some of Gideon's sources have said that Donald Trump, Trump's sons, Eric and Don Jr., and Vice President J.D. Vance are planning on issuing a so-called digital dollar that will act as the ultimate deception to siphon off Americans' last remaining fiat savings. The sources have said a number of top gatekeepers in alternative media have already been briefed on the coming talking points they will use to entice their followers into investing in these new digital coins, which could be tied to gold or other hard assets as a selling point, further confirming many past intel drops that the cabal would use this deceptive method on Americans. According to Gideon, the digital dollar will be a deception and have no relationship to Obsidian or USDR. Gideon warns that in 2026 this deception may come about to bring Americans into the system by offering a new economic hope of renewal through some kind of dollar stablecoin that is completely insolvent. Gideon says this fraud will last a few months before the total collapse occurs. 5. Nanotech activation testing continues with an unexpected goal and agenda. A specialized, highly advanced type of nanotechnology was placed in the world's food supply between the years 2022 to 2024, as reported on in countless past intel drops. Around 99% of the world's population was infused and infected with this nanotech during that period of time. This program still continues to this day in a more limited fashion. And not all foods are safe to eat. Gideon says baby foods and formulas still contain the nanotech, as do many junk foods, processed foods, and fast foods. Independent researchers have already found the nanotech in samples of food and proven it exists, and nanotech has been found in energy drinks like Red Bull. When consumed, the nanotech actually fuses with our own cells, entering them and fusing with cellular operations. Once fused, a process that takes about 1 month from the initial consumption of the nanotech, the cell cannot operate without the nanotech, or it will die off or form aggressive cancers. The nanotech was designed so detox methods would not work at all. Furthermore, the nanotech can direct and instruct cells to perform various tasks, and this includes gathering up certain metallic compounds in the body and arranging them into nano superstructures that can operate as transmission beacons or build cybernetic operating systems within the body. This aspect of the nanotech has not been fully activated yet, but it is expected it will be by 2030. An additional role of the nanotech is to receive signals and activation from Starlink and 6G towers. These signals can instruct the nanotech to perform various operations in the body, especially relating to the brain, where the nanotech can influence thoughts and emotions. It is also believed the nanotech can interact with the human soul in some way. The testing phase is ongoing and is highly targeted. Gideon believes our readership, along with the wider alternative media viewership, is being targeted. Not only has Gideon and our team noticed changes in behavior among friends and family, we have also received emails from our supporters indicating this as well. A broader search of forum postings and videos online suggests we are not the only ones to notice this. Gideon also says the extraordinary drop in alcohol consumption worldwide is directly related to the nanotech. Gideon says alcohol influences the nanotech negatively, so the cabal has a desire and incentive to reduce alcohol consumption. The method alcohol negatively affects the nanotech appears related to how the nanotech interacts with us emotionally, as the alcohol appears to disable some of those effects. Gideon warns that consuming alcohol to offset the effects of the nanotech is not a viable solution, nor does it offset all of the effects of the nanotech. In the same way, cigarette smoking has been attacked by the cabal for decades because nicotine, which is found in high concentrations in the tobacco plant, negatively affected previous nanotech testing via vaccines and other methods. The current, more advanced nanotech issued in the food supply is no longer affected by nicotine. The cabal has created an antidote that tells the nanotech to disable and exit the body. Our team is working to find a solution to help non-sovereign individuals access the antidote, but no solution beyond obtaining sovereign status has been found at this time. In closing, newly obtained intel suggests the nanotech's long-term goal is to keep certain humans trapped in their bodies and to live excessively long lives, and eventually to have their souls transferred to new, cybernetic bodies. This plan was actually referenced in some early intel drops, and now Gideon has some additional intel suggesting this is a very real plan and agenda. Gideon adds, the cabal wants certain humans to be tied to this earthly plane for as long as possible, if not forever on this earth, as a way to trap the soul here. This program is not for the cabal itself, but for humans enslaved by Obsidian. If the soul cannot leave the body via death, then it cannot ever have a chance to reconnect with God or the divine. This plan is truly one of the most horrifying I have ever heard, but it is the true purpose and nature of what the cabal means when they speak of transhumanism.
This concludes our Intel Bulletin. Our next Intel drop is expected to include new evidence of Obsidian provided by new whistleblowers, further detail on the newly obtained intel regarding the nanotech, and further discussion on the cabal's plans for 2030.